On Campus is brought to you by the UWI Mona, inspiring excellence, producing leaders. On Campus, a weekly look at what's happening on the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. On Campus today, the spotlight is on the Faculty of Science and Technology and climate change. There's our regular campus calendar, but first, UE News. Vice-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, has called on the Organization of American States, OAS, for coordinated, organized global investment in the Caribbean. Speaking during an open dialogue with Secretary General of the OAS, His Excellency Luis Almagro, on April 14, which marked the observance of Pan American Day, Sir Hilary stated that despite the fact that the Caribbean has always stood on its own feet, a combination of events including public health, chronic diseases, and climate change has devastated the region in the last 10 to 15 years. Professor Sir Hilary Beckles was invited by Secretary General Almagro to speak on the UWI's support in the region in response to the COVID-19 pandemic during this first of a virtual series entitled A Chat with the OAS. He noted the regional university's responsibility as a public and ethical institution to serve the people of the Caribbean, particularly during moments of great difficulty. However, he observed, when we look at the Caribbean within the context of the hemisphere examining our specific issues, we see that we are faced with some major challenges, most of which are not of our making. Most of them originated in history, and we are living through the legacies of these issues. He affirmed, the Caribbean has given a great deal to this hemisphere and the world, and it is now time for this to be reciprocated to give the Caribbean what it deserves and what it has a right to, which is an economic leg up at a moment of growing despair. Amid the series of eruptions from the La Soufriere volcano, parts of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and neighboring islands have been blanketed in ash and smoke since April 9. To provide support and relief to those affected, the University of the West Indies is mobilizing its resources and expertise. Consistent with its traditional emergency assistance protocols, the UWI will activate a two-phased approach to the response. The first phase is a rapid response in the deployment of relief aid and experts to assist in the areas of greatest need in close coordination with the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and its National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO. The second phase concentrates on the mobilization of expertise in the rehabilitation response. In this immediate phase, the UWI encourages its staff, students, alumni, friends, and partners to join in contributing financial resources with special priority towards healthcare, education, and displaced students left vulnerable following the eruption of the La Soufriere volcano. All information about how to donate can be accessed at www.uwi.edu/rallyroundsvg. The Climate Studies Group Mona, CSGM, was formed within the Physics Department at the University of the West Indies in 1994 under the initiative of the Honorable Professor Anthony Clayton. This afternoon, UWI Mona Public Relations Officer Camille Reed speaks with the head of the Physics Department, Dr. Tannecia Stephenson, and Assistant Lecturer and Lead Researcher in the Climate Studies Group Mona, Jayaka Campbell. They will be talking to her about the faculty's ongoing initiatives in the area of climate studies and the work of the Climate Studies Group Mona.
Dr. Stephenson, what should people be thinking about when they hear the term climate change?
Climate change is how different measures of our weather changes over the long term. So we tend to look at first, historically, we can speak to how our climate has already changed. So we look at data that our meteorological services collect. And so we look at rainfall and we look at the changes in rainfall. So for example, we could speak to that we have been seeing more intense rain events and longer dry periods. That's part of the pattern we see with climate change. So any number of variables can be looked at. And we have been noticing that the extremes in our temperatures have also been increasing. We can talk about sea levels, and that we have noticed that our sea levels have been rising. Just take a trip out to Hellshire. And so again, we see climate change at work. One more I will discuss with us is hurricanes. We have been noticing that we have been getting a number of Category 5 hurricanes through the region. So we can speak to that increase in frequency and intensity of hurricanes in the past. So when we speak of climate change, we can speak of past climate change, and we can also speak of future climate change.
Now, Jayaka, you are the senior researcher in the Climate Studies Group, MONA. Can you tell us a little bit about that particular group, what it's all about and the type of work that you do?
Well, the group is a very diverse group. I must admit it's a very diverse group. We have members who actually, from time to time, are from econ, geography. We even have members that would be coming not just from the very and seemingly very connected realms, but we have members even from health. So we actually span the full gamut of what you think of climate impacting all those other sectors. If you think about Jamaican lives and you think about, a story I like telling students is, if you get up in the morning and it's raining at 4 o'clock, and it continues raining to 5 and then to 6 and then to 7, and if it rains beyond 9 o'clock, show of hands of all the persons who would make it to work. And when you think about it, more than 75% of the hands would remain down. And that just goes to show that the very impact of climate, it would impact productivity. And for some persons like myself who are asthmatic, if there's a shift in the overall climate, there's also impacts where that is concerned. So climate in and of itself does touch every fabric, whether directly or indirectly, both economic, socioeconomic, and even our infrastructural development. It touches every fabric of that.
Assistant lecturer and lead researcher in the Climate Studies Group, MONA, Jayaka Campbell, and before him, Dr. Tannecia Stephenson, head of the Physics Department in the Faculty of Science and Technology, MONA. We'll hear more from them after the break, but first, let's take a look at our campus calendar. The University of the West Indies MONA campus wishes to advise the public that the application deadline for undergraduate and graduate programs have been extended until May 19. We understand the many hurdles prospective students and their families have had to overcome during changes within school communities island-wide and the unprecedented challenges presented by COVID-19. With these disruptions in mind, the MONA campus has taken the decision to extend the application deadline for the semester beginning August 2021. To apply, please visit www.mona.uwi.edu/apply. For additional information on how we are operating during the COVID-19 pandemic, please visit www.mona.uwi.edu/COVID-19. The Faculty of Medical Science is offering postgraduate diplomas in emergency medicine. The 18-month program equips medical practitioners working in emergency situations with skills and knowledge needed to provide effective medical care in different clinical settings. Apply now. The course begins on July 1, 2021. For more information, call 927-2556 or 822-0740 or email fms postgrad@uwimona.edu.jm. We now return to Dr. Tannecia Stephenson, head of the Physics Department in the Faculty of Science and Technology, and assistant lecturer and lead researcher in the Climate Studies Group MONA, Jayaka Campbell, as they tell us more about the faculty's ongoing initiatives in climate change studies.
Explain to me some of the components of the programs that are available in the faculty that would be ideally suited for students who want a career in climate change, Dr. Stephenson.
Because of the interdisciplinary nature of climate, it crosses a number of different areas. Persons can come into climate change at the undergraduate level or at the postgraduate level from any number of areas. There's a gender dimension, so persons can come and look at gender and climate change. There's a geography. They can look at what are some of the impacts of climate change on fishermen, on fisher folk, or on biodiversity from life sciences. So from any number of disciplines, they can look at the physics side of things and look at understanding what's the actual physical change in climate that one can anticipate as one understands how the climate works. The economics. So from any angle, persons can engage with climate change research, whether at the postgraduate level, or they can come in at the undergraduate level and say, for example, do an energy and environmental physics major in the Department of Physics.
Now, Jayaka, give a pitch to the student who is listening or the parent who is listening this afternoon to encourage that student to consider climate change studies for their career path.
Well, that's an easy task, and I hope I'm going to tell a nice little story. When I was actually, transitioning from high school to university, my mother said to me, well, every day you look in the paper, there is an accountant or something like that. And now I challenge you to open a newspaper and not find the word climate change. It has become so synonymous with everything. And it's not just from a physics standpoint. You could do climate change from a chemistry standpoint. You could do climate change from a biology standpoint. You could do it from a geography standpoint, economics. You could do it from almost any one of the disciplines you think of, because climate is so overarching and so intertwined with our daily lives and our functions that there are some questions that require answering. And so your work will find its applicability, not just in this tiny island, but in sub-regions that match this tiny island. So you could very well be answering questions that are being asked in the Pacific, as well as within the Caribbean, or even in Africa, because all you would need is data at scales, which we now have, and that question you're looking to answer. And they're all big questions. The Caribbean's position is now validated by science. And so there are other questions that need answering. So if our climate is changing, what does that mean for vector-borne diseases? Does it mean that vector-borne diseases are going to be more prevalent or less prevalent? If our climate is changing, what does that mean for planning and adaptation? Should our budgets remain the same? Should we be reading budgets in the same way? Should we actually be setting aside some bit of it for something? And what is the economic value of not planning for climate change? What is the economic value of not planning for 2050, 2040 style climate from now? How long can we delay that planning? So there are myriads of questions, and I'm just sampling a few. So I'm just showing, if your interest is in economics, you can be interested in the economics of climate change. If your interest is in chemistry, you could literally be going, well, so if we change this, how then does that affect overall climate? Because we've only spoken about climate, but we've not actually examined the types and measures that the globe is undertaking to offset climate change, or saying that this could actually help with climate change. And that in and of itself is also begs into question a whole realm of possibilities. So it's an exciting time to be in climate. It's never a dull moment. There's always something to do. And you could very well be the person that answers the very first question globally.
Assistant lecturer and lead researcher in the Climate Studies Group Mona, Jayaka Campbell, and before him, Dr. Tannecia Stephenson, head of the Department of Physics in the Faculty of Science and Technology, speaking to UWI Mona Public Relations Officer Camille Reed about the ongoing initiatives in the area of climate studies and the ongoing work of the Climate Studies Group Mona. And that's On Campus for today. To stay connected to the UWI Mona, home of the Pelicans, or to apply to UWI Mona, visit us online at www.mona.uwi.edu or like our official Facebook page at www.facebook.com/UWI Mona. The University of the West Indies, inspiring excellence, producing leaders. If you have suggestions for this program, please contact the Marketing, Recruitment and Communications Office, University of the West Indies, Mona, Kingston 7, or email us at marketing.communications@uwimona.edu.jm. On Campus was produced by Camille Reed. I'm Sean Mokien. On Campus is a production of the Marketing, Recruitment and Communications Office of the University of the West Indies, Mona, and is recorded in the Media Lab of the University Archives at the UWI Regional Headquarters.